Welcome everybody. So today we're gonna have Eric Crutchlow on two different topics. One of them is about Infosec vendors, and the second one is about Nessus. And there's gonna be a demo about it. And before we get started, I just gonna do some housework. Again, we the meetings will continue being online until it's safe to go back. We are looking at August 14th. So I'm gonna give you the first possible date, which would be the weekend of August 14th for doing our first in-person meeting. Again, we don't know yet. We've been looking at the situation, and there's a spike in cases. So if things get bad and we get, I don't know. Hopefully that won't be the case, but we have to watch what's going to happen. But we'll be looking at the weekend of August 14th for our first in-person meeting again. We will confirm time and place. Hopefully we'll be back at the library, and the library will be open by then. We will need a number of presentations for the rest of the year, since we are sort of running out of content. We still have two, 3 more presentations, and then we're gonna have to start uh, uh, gathering a number of new content for the rest of the year. Again, everybody knows at this point, there's no DEF CON in person. There's Black Hat virtual, and I've been working with the Red Team Village, and they are looking for volunteers. Um, so if you want to volunteer, you can go to our website and send in a message and volunteer for the actual event. I may put up also a call for the Cloud Village. I've been talking to them as well, and they're going to do also a virtual event, and they may need actual volunteers. We keep hearing about the layoffs. The chatter is increasing, and there is more people getting let go. We're still receiving and putting offers in our job channel in Slack, which is job offers. Again, if you want to join the Slack, you can email me at info@phack.org, and I will add you to the Slack. There's still plenty of new offers. Of course, I keep hearing that recruiters are getting pickier, but there's still jobs. So please, if you've been affected by this, we can help. There are still quite a bit of offers. I believe I already went through this. Yeah, the meetings will be posted on the YouTube channel, and we are still testing our Discord server, and we're trying to migrate eventually to Discord. Discord offers many things Slack is not. So at this point, we have the two of them, but we had so many people that we're waiting for most of them to start using it, and then we will migrate. Other than that, um, again, if you wanna get the actual invite to Discord, join the Slack, and then I'll be glad to send you an invite for the Discord server. And with that in mind,
Actually, I was just gonna ask if someone in here is actually hiring, in the area or looking, post it in the channel, or you have 2 minutes to say something. Anyone?
if anybody is hiring or and would like us to share their jobs, we'll be glad to share them, and try to help those who are looking for jobs.
Hi guys, hi Rod, hi Marcus.
Hey, how are you?
Good, good. Yeah, state is always hiring. I'm gonna say I put in that generic link jobs.ca.gov, and yeah, I know it's very good centralized one-stop shop link. People can start going and reading that. You guys probably know about it, right? Rod, Marcus, um, Marco, what do you call yeah, and you can go on there. look at what state has about 128, 168 agencies, and it's pretty cool though. Like all basically the high-end IT is like ITS1 and ITS2. Anywhere from the 5 domains, which is network, security, system admin, server, and all those help desk, client systems, and business analysis. It's pretty cool though, and yeah, you can apply for those. The lower ranks are ITT, information technology technicians, and information technology associates, ITA. So those are pretty cool over there. If anybody has questions, they can always reach out to me. But yeah, check out jobs.ca.gov, and hopefully that this info helps.
What is your nick in Slack so people can
Oh,
so people,
oh, my thing is like it's just look for me, Daryl Lal. You should be fine.
okay, excellent. I'm gonna post this link in the job offers channel now, and then I will put your nick so they can hit you up. Great, thank you very much. So,
Hey, brother.
without further ado, Eric, take it away.
All right, so first of all, you can hear me still, right? And I'm going to go ahead and share screen. All right. Hey, Rod, just confirm you can see my screen. Is everything working?
We can see it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks. All right, thanks. So my name is Eric Crutchlow. I'm a product manager at Tenable. We make Nessus. If you're familiar with that product, that's probably the one that we're most famous for. The founder of the company and the inventor of Nessus, Renault, is still with the company, very much so, and wants to contribute and give back to the community as well. So what I'm going to do is first, I'm going to talk about what I call care and feeding of your security vendor, or dealing with the salespeople as they come after you, and give you some of the insights. One of the things that I had done in my career here is I worked as a security engineer or a sales engineer for quite a while, and really know the ins and outs. And there's some good things to learn. There's also some things from the standpoint of, okay, if you're going to engage with people in sales, what's the best way to get a good price, make sure that you're not wasting your time, not making sure that you're wasting their time. So what this first part of the presentation is going to be is how do you do that? And then the second presentation I have is using one of our products called Nessus Essentials, which is a free version of Nessus for doing scanning. And we can get a little hands-on on that. Please feel free to ask questions and such. I'll definitely have a moment at the end where we'll go through that. And I'll give you my contact information if you want to just follow up and shoot me an email or something like that. So without further ado, so we're going to go over some of the goals here of what I'm trying to give to you is, what are the salespeople that are coming after you all the time and bugging you? How do they make their money? How do they, pitch to a customer? What is the spiel for how to set that up? How to say no early. If you really don't want to deal with salespeople, there's a good way to just get out of it very quickly, and I'll go over that. Getting a good deal. So let's say, okay, now I do want this. What is the best way to get the best price? What's the difference between going from a reseller who sells various products from different vendors, or going directly to just the vendor? Where is the best way to do that? And then I'm going to end with some marketing fluff, which is basically they sit there and they say, yeah, we're the best in the industry, and Gartner says we are, and blah, blah, blah. And, let's talk about zero-day malware, all these things that basically you don't need to hear. And I just want to make you aware of some of it. You probably already are, but also ways to get around not having to deal with that crap. All right, so little philosophical ideas. In this industry, I've done a lot of stuff, and I've dealt with all sorts of people, and salespeople can be crazy, but I literally have dealt with people who are paranoid schizophrenics and stuff like that. And I had one who my wife, who I was dating at the time, I called her up and I said, hey, Laura, what's going on? How do I do this? And she said, look, don't let somebody else's craziness become your craziness. So when salespeople come after you and do things and they get you riled up, there's no reason to. Don't let somebody else's craziness become your craziness. You're not getting the commission on the deal. And then trust is given, not earned. A lot of people, when you think about it, you give trust. You're not sitting there like, well, let's try this and see what happens. Somebody comes in, they have a meeting, you're trusting them to, use your time wisely. So it's not going to be earned until you sit there and say, look, this is how I want to have this meeting run. Engage in dialogue by asking questions. So a lot of times people will make statements and it doesn't really get you very far. If you really want to know what somebody is thinking or doing, engage in dialogue. And from a sales standpoint, that's really important. If I want to know what's going on, I'm going to ask you some questions to try and see, what's your current status, where things are. But I'm also going to try and do it in a way that is not just the typical, and I'll go into this later, what keeps you up at night? That's always one of the worst things to ask a customer. And then set expectations. If you're going to do stuff in sales and you want to deal with a salesperson and you want to make sure you're getting what you think you are, always put it in writing. It's key. So if you have a meeting and they said, yeah, this thing can do X, Y, Z, just send an email and saying, hey, loved your presentation. This is my understanding of some of the things that it can do, and just want to put it in writing just so you can confirm that, yeah, that I do have it right. And if you wind up putting things in writing, you'll all of a sudden see these people kind of wake up. It's like, I got to make sure that that's correct. So you can start making sure that expectations are set correctly way before you get down the road going into a proof of concept and such. So when it comes to the different kinds of people that are out there, the first one that's going to come after you is what we call our sales development rep or account development rep. These are cold callers. All they do is sit all day long and they dial for dollars. They keep on calling and calling, and they get your name in many different ways. If they have Salesforce, one of the most common places is something called Raintree that they pay for. So they have all these names and they think this is fantastic. You can make tons of money. The problem with things like Raintree is that everybody uses it. So it winds up being, okay, it's a lead, but at the same time, if that person is getting 10 calls a day, they're probably not answering their phone. And I definitely know people that do that. They get your name from trade shows. You go to RSA, you go to DEF CON, you give somebody your email address, whatever, you're going to be a victim. LinkedIn is also a great place for diving in. You go look at who has backgrounds in security. Are they a CISO or something like that? LinkedIn is a great place for getting leads. But of course, this is also where if you claim to be a CISO, you're going to get attacked and just get tons of email. Friends and family. So a lot of sales development reps will start off by calling people they know. And, this can be a little contentious with friends and family, but, hey, they're just trying to make a meeting because every meeting that they make, they get paid on, whether the person buys or not. Spam, you're going to get tons of email once you go to a trade show. If you haven't seen it already, try it out with a fake email and you will see all the crap that you get. And then those email lists will get resold to somebody else. So there's all sorts of insidious ways of getting leads. Now, these guys that give you a call, they're not very techy. One of the fun parts for me is I always ask, like, where do you go to school for? Because most of the people I knew had college degrees. They had 4 degrees in economics or psychology or something like that. And it's like, well, what were you expecting to do with that? And they say, well, I don't know, but I thought I had to go to college. And they wound up being an SDR. So they don't know what's going on. All they're trying to do is close a meeting with you, get you to listen to enough of a sales pitch and get you into a meeting. And they have a flowcharted script. And if they go off script, they can be in trouble. And it's always a lot of fun to mess with some of these people at times. But I try to be nice to them. Look, they're trying to make some money. If you're not interested, you can just say, thank you, not interested, hang up. They're not your friends. Who cares? They're not your family. Just, and if it happens to be a friend or family, tell them, hey, stop bugging me. And they're trying to qualify you. They're trying to see if you have any projects out there, if there's any budget for it. They're going to go down all sorts of rabbit holes to make sure that they can figure out if you're a qualified lead. But that's basically a very short pitch. They're not going to go into depth, because the other thing is, if you say yes, great. Let me get it set up, and then somebody will follow up with you, and they're off dialing somebody else. Salesperson. Salesperson works on commission. So they'll have a base salary, let's say it's $125,000 a year, base salary. That's they get regardless of how much they sell. They will get another $125,000 if they make all the sales that they are assigned to make. So you get 100% commission based for X number of dollars in sales. So my quota could be, let's say I have to sell $5 million in a year. Okay, I'm making 125,000. If I sell $5 million and make my quota, I will get another 125,000, and that usually is something that comes in a delayed way. So if I close a sale, they don't immediately pay me, because there's a lot of customers that will all of a sudden say, look, this isn't working, we're going to return it. So my commission comes late. If I don't make some money up front and start getting that tunnel, not tunnel, but that like a buffer, let's say, of sales in there, I get paid later at a certain point when they feel that the sale is really, really final. Now, as a salesperson new at a job, they will guarantee me like a month or 2 months so that I can build up my sales and stuff like that. But after that time, there's no guarantees. I just have to be on top of it. Otherwise, you know, they're looking at me monthly and saying, okay, where's the next sale? Give me your forecast. Once they get to 100% commission, if they're really good and they go over it, there are these things called accelerators. Accelerators are just saying, okay, instead of paying you at, 100% of your, this thing, I'm going to pay you at 110%. So you can get into some really interesting accelerators. I had a friend of mine who was at a startup, fantastic product. Everybody wanted it. He wound up making $900,000 off of a base of like 125,000. So he just ended the salesperson, of course, at 50-50. They made over $1 million and were going crazy. They were having a good time. And then there's bonuses and President's Club. So bonuses, so sometimes they'll say, look, if you can sell this one product that is really a dog with fleas, but if you can sell it, we'll give you a bonus. And people will go after that. President's Club is basically the top salespeople every year at a company will go to some fantastic place like Aruba, Hawaii, New Jersey, who knows. And they'll go ahead and have this great time. The only problem with that President's Club is it's also partially you get together and work. And if you get too drunk, you got to be careful what you do and say in front of other people. I had one friend who got fired because he decided in the middle of the night in Aruba to use coconuts in the hallway of the hotel and try and play bowling pins with champagne bottles. Not a good thing sometimes. But salespeople, one of the things I say, they like free food, free drinks, they like to travel for free, and they like to repeat that as often as they can. So that's kind of the life of a salesperson. They're very motivated and willing to take risks. The good ones like to make relationships. They don't want to just sit there and sell you something. They want to help you out, solve a problem. The bad ones want to flip a sale and are gone. There's a large, very famous disk storage company that they'll get in there, they'll try and sell you, and they will undercut everybody else's price, because once you go down that route with them, buy their equipment, you're stuck. You have to use their equipment. And then any sale after that, you're not getting a good deal. So those are the ones that I don't like. I like it when you try and make a relationship, you try and work with somebody, you try to help them solve their problems. You don't just call them up and say, hey, can I sell you something today? Can you look at this or that? No, it's like, look, these people are all busy doing things. You got to make it worth their time to even listen to you. So one of the things I would do as a salesperson, I would say, hey, by the way, I know you had this piece of equipment. I just saw Hacker News that something went wrong with it. I just want to give you an FYI. And I don't even try and sell them anything else. I just try and give them an FYI. That way they know that I'm not always constantly trying to sell, but then if they need something, they'll come back to me and say, hey, Eric, by the way, we're looking at this. And I'll tell them right up front, like, one, we don't do that, but I know who does. and here are the people that I recommend. So they start looking at me as like, hey, this guy will treat me right, and I can come back to him, and he won't just try and abuse the relationship and try to constantly sell me something I don't need. So salespeople, we have a deal with salespeople as a security engineer. I tell them, I won't talk price if you don't talk tech. So normally salespeople do not go deep into the tech. They should have enough of an understanding of the product to be able to sell it. And then they have a sales engineer that comes along with them. They can be called any number of names, and they will actually go into the deep techie part of it. So salespeople don't usually. Now, you will find some that are very, very good at it and know the tech even better than their SE at times, but that's rare. So they're the ones that you talk to for the quote, the price, when I'm going to get it, if I have a problem with support, so on and so forth. Now, the sales engineer, and that again can be called security engineer, any number of things, but we just call them SEs normally. They're supposedly the tech expert. Sometimes they are, sometimes they are not. Depends on how well they know the product and how long they've been at the company, but more on that later. Their commission structure is a little bit different. They're usually on a 70-30 split or 80-20 split, so they don't get as much commission, but they're guaranteed to get, you know, a larger base. And same thing as a salesperson, they'll get 100% of the commission if they make their quota. And the salesperson's quota, they're usually tied with a salesperson. They're working together. It's very easy to do it when you work with one person, and you can get going with that. Other times you have customers, not customers, you have companies who they will have a pool of SEs. They're not tied to any one salesperson. And as a salesperson comes in and needs an SE, they take from the pool and they go sell. The problem I don't like about that when that happens is usually you need to get a relationship with your salesperson to understand how they pitch. They need to know how you pitch and do your part of it. And if you haven't worked with them, it can be very difficult. So companies like that, I don't necessarily like that. You may see the effects of that, but remember, if you're trying to get technical information, that SC better know his stuff, and he's the person that's going to, you know, get you all your answers. And he's the same way, or she, whatever. Food, drink, travel, repeat. So got a lot of people out there that they like doing that. That's part of the bonus for them, but they do like being in the field and making the sales. So the SE, his job is, if you decide to do a proof of concept, or sometimes they call it proof of value, they will go ahead and help you organize that, structure that, run it, get you the equipment, rack it, stack it, the whole 9 yards. When problems happen, you contact them. Now, they should never talk price. And if you want to have a little bit of fun, you can always try to push them, see if they'll give you the price, especially in front of the salesperson. But, you know, be nice. They should not talk price. Salesperson should not talk tech. Now, if somebody gives you a call and they're saying, hey, we got this great firewall that we want to sell you, and you already got all your firewalls, it's like, look, I'm not interested, thank you. That's a real easy one to do. But if somebody calls you and like, hey, this sounds kind of interesting, number one, were you even looking for a solution like that? FireEye would be a good example. You know, it's a sandbox solution. You basically tap the wire, you look at the data coming through, it can sandbox and stuff like that. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. The bottom line is, are you even looking for a solution like that? If you're not, okay, is it fit in any project that you currently have? Don't know. But the key is going to be, even if this is of interest to you, do you have budget for it? All right, you can say, look, give me the 3-minute pitch. I'll consider it, and if I'm interested, I'll set up a meeting later, but right now I'm not. Just say no. And they're going to be obviously a bit pushy. Bottom line, if you want to, hang up on them. That's what phones are for, right? No problem with that. Emails, same thing. You don't have to answer the email. Now, if you have something you're interested in and you want to go ahead and, you know, get a good deal, make sure that you understand what the budget is, what your projects are, what your needs are. Do you need this thing? FireEye, when I was first selling that stuff, nobody understood the technology, but once they understood it, one of the most common things that came up after we spent a lot of time was, well, I don't have any budget for it this year, but I can consider it next year. be upfront with the salespeople. Just say, hey, listen, this sounds very interesting. I don't know if I can justify it right now, but our budget cycle is happening in June. And if I can do a POV at that time and go through it and make sure that it does what you say it does, I can then go and pitch for money for that and get it budgeted. This way you're upfront with the salesperson. They can understand and get the expectation of when things are going to happen. And there's no like, hey, wait a minute. We went through the POC, it met all your criteria. What the hell? Buy the thing. So the problem is, if you don't have that part of it, you don't need to deal with it. Just saying, hey, look, I'm not the one that with the money. The CFO is listed on the website. Go call them. I always loved doing that. The CFO always hated me, but I just said no. I don't want it. And a lot of times I would just make sure that I never gave out my number. I always had a different number that I used internally for people. Made my life easy. Resources to complete. Here's a big one. I do have the budget. It's something I want to put in. It's not a trivial project and I need some resources. Do I have them? The worst thing for me had been I made a sale. They wanted to do it, not make a sale, but they wanted to do a proof of concept. It's like, okay, who are the people that I'm going to deal with to get this racked and stacked and set up and running? And they said, well, let's just set it up for next week and come in and we'll find some people. And I hated hearing that. So if you're going to commit to this, you need to have the resources, you need to have the time. You don't want to waste salespeople's time. You don't want to waste your time, because if you don't have that people up there, you're going to be in trouble. You're always going to wind up having all sorts of issues. The worst thing is, like, when I used to be in professional services and I would fly out to like Houston or Dallas, and it's like, we gave you a day of free professional services to install this product, and they didn't have the stuff racked. They didn't have a knowledge of where things went. And it's like, you just wasted your day of professional services. Now you're going to have to pay for it. And of course, that always started an argument. I gave it to the salespeople. It was ugly. So if you're going to commit, be ready to commit. Have your resources and time and know what you need to do to get this thing working successfully. So on the other side of that, let's say I do want to talk to the salesperson. Let's say it's a firewall. I want to go talk to you about the firewalls and stuff. The one thing that generally never, ever happens is I never see a prospect contact the salesperson and saying, hey, before you come out here, here's some things I want you to know. So first of all, if you have an RFP, obviously you will share that with them. But we want to go and say, look, we know everything about security right now. We know what the current landscape for threats are. I don't want to hear all that stuff. We're very interested in talking to you about these aspects of the firewall. This is what we need. So can you focus on that? Again, put it in writing, shoot them an email, and then also include what you're not looking for. So sometimes people, if you know they're really big on SSL VPNs, for example, and say, look, we already have a solution in that area. We're happy with it. We don't want to deal with it. We want to deal with this part of the firewall stuff, application firewall, maybe, web application firewall, whatever. Like, that's what we're interested in. And also make sure you tell them what the goals are. And I'll go over that more a little bit later. Sometimes people give you the solution they think they need rather than giving you the goals of what they're trying to attain. And if the salesperson knows what the goals are, one of the things they're going to do is they're going back into their company and they're going to go ahead and talk to everybody that is an expert in that area to help architect a solution and be able to get you some good ideas. So leverage that. You'd be surprised at how much time I've spent in preparing for a sales call because I knew they had certain needs, and I would talk to some experts in the field there and get that information set up so that they would could think about, here are the different possibilities, whether it is my product or is it, take this product and then add this to it, because that's really going to give you what you want. I've seen deals made, multi-million deals made, where somebody came in saying, I need to do this, this, and this. And when somebody said, well, what are you trying to get at? It's like, oh, I'm trying to get at this. And then there was a new solution. They were able to, have a discussion and a dialogue and a sale was made, when before the salesperson was thinking, this is a waste of time. So always try and talk about goals and what you're trying to solve. Maybe you have some solutions, great, because it gives you an example, but then let them come up with some of the other parts of that for you. Right. All right, so do your hacker homework. Okay, all you social engineering and hackers, going online and doing reviews. Nothing like saying, what's going on with that company and what's going on with their product. Now, magazines like SE Magazine, for example, I've rarely seen them ever give a bad review. Why? Because how do they make the money? Through advertising. If they're going to go and give bad reviews to a bunch of vendors, those vendors aren't going to advertise. So you got to be careful when looking at that and taking it for what it's at. Read that, understand where they're making their money, do the reviews, see what other people say. Glassdoor, if you're not familiar with it, go check it out. What I like doing there is looking at people and seeing if they're saying the company has all sorts of problems. So I'm quitting because they don't pay my commissions right, or their support really sucks. This is a great way to go and look at what's happening on the inside and getting some feedback. LinkedIn. Let me just break out of this for a moment. Come on, baby, you can do it. I want to just show you something about LinkedIn that I love. Okay, so when I go into LinkedIn, and I'm going to show you a few people, and this is what I like looking for when I go do this. So here is a sales guy that's a Tenable that I've worked with at Checkpoint. You want to look at the sales guy, and what you want to know is really, really simple in my mind. Is number one, how long has he worked at the company? Is he new? Has he been there for a while? Does he know the product? Has he been in the security industry for a while? Or, has the last job has been something totally different? So you want obviously somebody that has a good background in the industry, somebody that knows the stuff, that can really help you understand, how it fits with you. But if they've been at other places like selling pharmaceuticals or something like that, it could be a waste of your time. The SEs, on the other hand, this is one that he was my mentor at FireEye. This guy is fantastic. Now, what I'm looking for here is, again, the same thing. What kind of background does he have? Is it in security? How long has he been there? And some of the other things I'll look at when I go down here, and this is kind of key. What are the accomplishments that he has? Now, in this case, this is one that is really interesting because, as you can see, those things where I was talking about President's Club, he's been at President's Club. He's been nominated SC and won SC of the Year award multiple times. This guy is really, really smart. He knows his stuff. When he comes in, he can answer all the questions. This is the kind of SE you want coming in and talking to you. You won't waste your time. So that gives you some interesting background on those people and gives you a better idea of, is it worth your time to meet with them? All right. So do your reviews. If you have other places to go for it, because you want to know, is the company good? Are the people that are coming to me going to waste my time, or do they know what they're talking about? Classic pitches. This is the stuff that I hate. Every corporation that I worked at always had a pitch deck, and it always started off with, we're a company that's been around for 10 years. We've got 5,000 employees. This is the state of cyber threats. What keeps you up at night? Everyone says we're the best. It's like, dude, I could care less. And I would take that pitch deck and I would just cut it up. And it's like, hey, look, I'm there. I don't have much time. I need to make sure that I'm focused on my customer and what their needs are. If you talk to your salesperson beforehand and write them an email saying, hey, listen, we see a lot of people coming in and giving us pitches and telling us about the state of cyber threats and stuff. Look, we live this every day. We know what the cyber threats are and stuff. We really want to just see your product. So please, look at your pitch deck. When you come talk to us, please address our needs. You don't need to tell us what's going on in the industry. We know all that stuff. If they don't listen to you, that is the red flag you want to look for. That's where you say, wait a minute, I just asked you not to do this. Why are you doing this? And I've seen this happen many times. And I also saw one of the founders of a company actually tell the prospect, this is the way we're doing it. You need to hear me and you need to let me complete what I'm saying. Please don't interrupt. And I'm the SE on the call, and I'm sitting there. If it was my salesperson, I would have basically gone over there and, hit the knucklehead over his head and tell him to shut up. But he was the founder of the corporation. I couldn't do anything about it. Life's rough. But look, this is a good test. Tell them what you want up front. Tell them you don't want to hear this. Tell them focus on my needs and see what they do. Great little red flag right off the bat. Okay, do they listen? I have a boss who told me one time, Eric, you're talking too much. God gave you 2 ears, 1 mouth, so they want you to listen twice as much as you talk. So I got it. Are they listening to you? Do they have good communication skills? Have you communicated your needs properly? Like what I was talking about before. I need an SSL VPN versus, look, I got a bunch of people that are working remote. I need to secure their access into my environment. What do you have for me? Now, giving you an example of SSL VPN is fine, but help them understand what your problem is and let the salespeople try and help you solve your problem. Like I said, they've got a lot of resources that they can call on, and they may have some very unique ideas. Okay, time wasters. I'm from the East Coast originally, and I don't know how many of you, where you're all from, but back east, we don't waste time. We get to a pitch, we talk, we are not trying to make friends. In California, where I am, I have seen so much like, how was your weekend? It's like, I just met this guy. I don't know his weekend. Honestly, I don't care about your weekend, okay? I don't know you. But they get into that pleasantries and you kind of have to go through it. Okay, so being nice is fine. But I would say, look, be respectful of people's times and make sure that they're not sitting there going around trying to be your friend, because that's not a way to make a deal, right? You can always steer the conversation saying, great, can we hear some of the things that we want to hear about today? Do you have your presentation ready? So you can always steer conversations the way you want, especially if they get too off tangent. Having an idea about what the timeline is. So again, you know what your budgets are, when you're thinking about, bringing this in, when's a good time to do a POC, because when you have resources and when you don't have resources. Helping the salespeople set that kind of stuff up makes their life easier, makes your life easier. Be polite, business professional. Again, you're not trying to make friends with these people. Okay, testing and POCs, sometimes called POVs. Testing is always key. You want to see it in your environment and how it works, if that's applicable, if you can really do that. You want to get your hands on there. There's several aspects of this that are very, very important. Mainly, when you talk to the people, you want to create a test plan with that vendor. They will have a test plan for you, guaranteed. They will orchestrate you down the right path. If that is what you want them to do, they will say, I got this, this, and this. FireEye with the sandboxes. I would put it in and I'd say, look, our first part is we're going to let it go for a week, see what we catch, what we don't catch. If we're not seeing anything, we're going to go ahead and do active testing, which means I'm going to send malware down. I'm going to show how I'm going to bypass your firewall. And they love that. It's like, we got Palo Alto. This is the greatest thing in the world. It says, look, I can bypass it in 3 seconds. Let me show you how I do it. And then get the malware in there. So we would have a test plan and we know how to deal with it. But it's best when the customer also says, look, here's the kind of things we want to see. Here's our environment. Tell us what's going on. And make sure that you work with that together, because a lot of vendors will go down a certain path and saying, look at here, this thing works great because I put this down here and it worked in this way. It's like, yeah, but that's not, I don't understand how that's real world. Help me understand. Let them explain that to you. And when they go on and talk gibberish, you can just cut them off and says, let's do this kind of testing. That to me is always the best thing, is you want to make sure you test what you want in your environment, talk with them about it, make sure that it's realistic. That's going to be the only key you're going to have to worry about. vendors are going to try and control that as best as they can. I learned so many ways not to do a POC, and I do try and structure it, but I also try to make sure the customer understands what I'm doing and that they agree that this is a valid test. What is success criteria? And this is going to be the key point of a POC, because if you meet the success criteria, great, now you're going to buy, right? So what is the success criteria to you? Does it meet the technical stuff? Great. If it meets the technical stuff, then go ahead and say, okay, look, now we talk about price. We're also going to do some other checks, references and things like that. Part of the success criteria could be your reviews of different aspects of that company and saying, look, yeah, POC was great, but by the way, I checked out your support and nobody likes your support. You don't get back to them and stuff. And this is a very complicated piece of equipment. If I can't get support on it, it's just dead equipment to me. So scheduling and check-in meetings, make sure there's a schedule to this. If it's going to be a POC that's going to last for 2-3 weeks or even more, make sure there's a schedule of meetings, what is supposed to be done by whom, so that you meet these deadlines. And the key to this is you don't want to waste your time, you don't want to waste their time. The worst thing is to have it racked and stacked sitting there and nobody does anything with it. If you're going to go through this process, make sure you have the resources, make sure you know what the test plan is going to be, and know what the timeline of when you want things done. And if it's the success criteria is met, you buy. That's why you want to set what that success criteria is. And it isn't just the technical aspects of it. It could be, hey, we got this, we're also going to review other aspects here, and that's part of our success criteria. Oh, by the way, I saw somebody pull up proof of value. Yeah, I hate the term POV because quite honestly, I've seen it enough in porn. I've had to do web filtering and sell web filtering and content and look at stuff, and I always hated that term. I like proof of concept that people want to say, but it's really proof of value. I said, dude, that's a term they use in pornography. Go Google it. So sorry, a little bit of a sideline. Test support. When I was a director of IT on the other side of this, where I was buying stuff, one of the things I was notorious for was I would do a POC and they would say, well, part of the POC is if you have any problems, just contact us and we'll help you. You really don't have access to support. And I said, well, I'm not going to do a POC unless I have access to support. So if you want me to even consider it, I need to be able to call in and try it out. And if they said no, then it's like, okay, fine, bye. I didn't even have to bring their equipment in or have much of a talk. I could do that on the first meeting if I was thinking about it, saying, hey, do we have the ability to contact support? Because it's one of the things I want to test. And I loved it because they always hated me for asking that. But you know what? If they're not willing to let you do that, tough cookies on them. You've got a very complicated piece of equipment. It may cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. I'm going to test everything, period. So use those social engineering skills. That's not sales engineering. You use those social engineering skills when you call support and act like you don't know too much and see how well they guide you through and how do they treat you. All right, so resellers versus direct. A lot of companies will not sell directly to an endpoint. The reason is resellers and channel partners are people who have direct relationships with a lot of companies, and they will be a multiplier, a sales multiplier for them in getting their products out. The problem is resellers also may be selling 3,000, 4,000 different products, and yours is one of those products. So there's a mix and mash here from different vendors. If you go directly to a vendor and they're only selling one solution, let's say SentinelOne, they have an endpoint solution, that's all they do. If you go to them and you're trying to find out what else you can do in this environment to protect yourself, they're a one-trick pony, right? If you go to a reseller, they have a whole bunch of different products and such that they're familiar with. They can say, well, SentinelOne's really good, but you can use Carbon Black here and you can use this here, and this might help, manage all this stuff for you. So they may have more ability to give you a variety of advice, that stuff that they sell. but there can be a danger to that as well, and I'll go over that shortly. There are resellers that I call our boutique, small guys that are focused in on a particular vertical, like let's say healthcare, or people who are really good at saying, look, all I do is sell Fortinet. And that's what I do. And if it doesn't fit your organization, I'll let you know. So they'll sell like a limited number of what they feel are very good products. And then you have the very large ones who sell everything. But again, the salesperson from that company can't be an expert, and they will only sell, let's say, a certain number of different products. And that can be a good and bad as well. Professional services. Resellers make their money on pro services, not making sales to you. They want to say, look, we're going to sell you the Palo Altos, we're going to install them, we're going to give you training and get you going. It's a real good gig. There's a lot of money in there, and there's a definite value. Depending on what you're looking for and what you're trying to buy, this can be a very good situation for you. Get those pro services, negotiate them, all sorts of things. So let's go into that a little bit. They are the experts on setup. You want to be the expert on how to use it and operate it. If you want to learn how to install it, let's say you're retail and you're going to install it at 4,000 different retail outlets. This is where I can say, look, I need training on how to do this setup. But in general, people say, look, you do the setup, we want to know how to operate it. That's the key. So they help get it up. They know what your environment is. They know what, they'll ask you the questions, the little gotchas that maybe you won't pick up by reading their, the manuals and stuff. So you got to make sure that, this is worth it to you. If you're setting up a Palo Alto and you've set up, 40 other Palo Altos already, you don't need pro services. But if it's something that you've never done before and it's going to be a non-trivial installation, you want to look at pro services. It's something that can always be negotiated as well. So anything is up for negotiation. If you do pro services, statement of work, everything is in writing. So going back to what I said before, read that statement of work, add in anything that the salesman said, yeah, this thing can, process 100 gig of bandwidth data coming down, no problem, everything will work 24 hours a day. Put that in the statement of work. They'll hate you for it, but if they say, look, there's a problem with it, that's when you want to find it. This is a little trick. I want to make sure that if I got a pro service engagement coming on, are they an employee of the person, the reseller that I'm dealing with, or are they outsourced? If they're outsourced, I'm going to need to know stuff, crazy stuff like, do you have workman's comp? Are you bonded? All this kind of weird stuff. If somebody walks into my facility, they get hurt. I don't want to be in the middle of some stupid lawsuit. So make sure you find that are the employees, and you put that in statement of work that you say, look, if you use subcontractors, I have to approve them first. Now, sometimes boutique shops will sell pro services that's not theirs. So for example, Checkpoint will be that pro serve for a boutique vendor. So they're basically reselling a SKU from Checkpoint to come in and do it. So, that kind of stuff, again, as long as you know who those people are, great. Are there other people that can do just pro serves? Absolutely. But in general, if you're going to a reseller, that's kind of their bread and butter that they want to do. If you want to buy just equipment, you can go to CDW or Newegg or one of those and just buy the equipment and then, arrange for a separate group of pro services. But in general, I like doing it all one-stop shop. It makes it easier on me, and there's more ability to go kind of yank on them when something goes wrong. Incentives, kickbacks. So one of the things I absolutely hate about resellers, and something that was very insidious in the industry, was they would sell products and would get, let's say, $100 gift card, Visa card, the salesperson would, for selling Palo Alto or something like that. And again, I'm not saying Palo Alto did this, whatever, I'm just giving an example. I probably shouldn't say that. But let's just say firewall XYZ. So I sell a particular brand, that company, that manufacturer would then give gift cards or whatever, or incentives selling their stuff. And one large reseller that I know of had such a bad problem with it that they finally said, look, number one, you get up to $1,000 a quarter from this stuff. Number two, we're going to put it all 1099 on you, and you're going to pay taxes on it, and so on and so forth. And number three, if you are going to sell a vendor because they give you money and incentive versus who is the best solution for that customer, at some point we'll get rid of you. Because what was happening, the customers are saying, you're selling us crap, you have no value to us. We heard that you're getting money to push, you know, this schmuck product. We don't want it anymore. Get out of here. So it's not like you can go and ask them if they get incentives for it. You got to do your due diligence and see what you can find from other resources. But bottom line, make sure that if you're going to go to a reseller, you ask them, what do they have? What products do they sell? Make sure that if you're saying, I'm going to look at Fortinet, SonicWall, Palo Alto, Barracuda, that they sell all those. And you can ask them, what do you sell the most of? And is there, what's the reason why you sell most of that? And, you know, they'll tell you that, yeah, people like this and works for them. So the other thing is that, you know, this is just something for you to know that some of this happens. There's not an easy way to find it out, but bottom line, just be aware of it. All right, so timing is everything. You know, there's the old adage about, look, if I'm going to buy a car, right, I'm going to do it at the end of the year because the sales guy wants to make his quota, and boy, I'm going to get the greatest deal ever. Yeah, not quite true, but it definitely works that way. When do people go nuts at a company doing sales? Quarter end. And usually it's on a calendar. And you can ask the salesperson, like, hey, when's your quarter end? And you know, the first thing they're gonna look at is like, okay, so this guy knows he wants to play that game. That's fine. You're telling him basically, I'm not stupid. I know how this game is played. And you know, they should have no problem, they'll tell you. So quarter end, they're trying to close. That's their mantra, close, close, close. So they're trying to close, and deals get better at that time. If they've already made their quota, they may not give you as much of a good deal, but whatever. Year end is also very, very good because it's like, hey, I want to get to President's Club. So how am I going to make this deal here? And then also seasonal. So you may think year end, you know, is that the best? For me, the biggest problem in doing a proof of concept was doing it during summer months. So June, July, August were awful because there's always somebody taking vacation. That was the person that's in charge of, you know, XYZ resource that I need. If I need a rack and stack, that person wasn't there. The person that signs the PO, they're not around, they're on vacation, so on and so forth. So seasonal can be a challenge. And if you can find a salesperson that's like dying in, you know, June, July, August, like, I got to make some sales here because I have to make my number. Sometimes they'll cut you a good deal because of that. So work with them. Say, look, I want to try and get the best deal that I can. I know it's quarter end. What can you do for me? If I can get this PO signed here, how much can you do for me? Now, I'll tell you one other story. I had, one thing I never do is I would never tell people what other quotes were. So I would say, yeah, I'm going to multiple vendors and such, but I would never tell them what the dollars were. And I had one guy from from a switch manufacturer, Cabletron, because they're not around anymore. And we had Cabletron equipment, and they had some high price for upgrading. And I said, yeah, well, we're looking around, and we're looking at Cisco. And they said, yeah, well, what kind of quote are you getting? I said, well, I can't give that out, but I'll tell you, you're off by quite a number. You're off by about 20,000. So I was kind of lying. And what ended up happening, the guy came back within 10 minutes, and he gave me 25,000 off. Well, what I failed to tell him on purpose was Cisco was $20,000 more expensive than Cabletron. So was that ethical or moral? No. But did I get away with it? Yes. So, all right. I'm kind of a bad guy once in a while. So, you can play these games. This is used car salesman tips sometimes. But you want to be good to you guys. You want to take care of them. If they're doing good by you, you do good by them, right? Get a fair price. Make sure you know what other people are paying. Talk to your friends, enemies, whatever, and make a good deal. Know that timing is important. If it's quarter end, they're usually very, very motivated to help you out there. Okay, so best price versus, I got my buddy here that's going to give you the best price on that used car that probably won't make it out the door. How do I get the best price? What am I looking for? Well, you can always go and look online and do searches for price. It's amazing the kinds of things that you can find out. I'll give you an example. If you're looking at firewalls, there was one company that all my resellers hated. Graffiti. Yeah. So when I was at Sonic Wall, these guys sold everything. And one of the things that they did in selling Sonic Wall is they would, let's see, where is it? And if you don't like Sonic Wall, please don't hold it against me. I just worked there, okay? People would go to this site, look at the products, get the price, and then go ahead and come back and saying, oh, yeah, we did the POC, you spent all that time and money and effort on us. Yeah, but Virtual Graffiti has it for this price. So I'd go in there and check the prices out. It's like, yeah, you know, call for it. Yeah, I called them up. This is what they told me. So hated these guys because they'd always ruin deals. But what they would do is at quarter end, they would come to Sonic Wall and say, I've got $1 million to spend to restock and replenish, you know, the stuff that I've been selling. And I want 40% off. And they would get 40, 50% off because Sonic Wall would do it. Well, that undercut all their resellers, which was always a bad thing. But guess what? If I can go out there and find a better price, let your salesperson know. What you want to make sure is, like, if you buy from this company, right, you're buying the equipment and that's it. Yeah, you get the same warranty and stuff like that, but if something goes wrong, yeah, you got your support. But guess what? If I have a reseller, they can give me some added value. So make sure you look at what is the added value the reseller is going to put in there. If they haven't told you already, then they didn't do their job. And then going to a place like this and just buying it, you know, for next to nothing, fine. That's all you need. Bad thing to do, but you gotta, yeah, value-added reseller, yeah. Everybody says they're a value-added reseller. That's where when you talk with them, they have to tell you what is the value that they're bringing to the table. That's key. But you keep them honest, right? All right. Marketing fluff. So here's part of where I got to be very careful what I say, because I have worked with a lot of these people, and I'm not going to be nailing anybody in any way, shape, or form. I'm just going to give you general observations, okay? So there's a lot of independent testing, which is good. Go check Gartner, ICSA labs, NSS labs, whatever, when you're looking at particular products and they've reviewed them. Take it for what it's worth. There have been testing labs, and I'm not naming anybody here, okay? Not who are listed here. This is just totally anonymous, okay? There have been instances way in the past where I've seen testing gone where there was code for a particular device that was purposely engineered to pass that test. The other part of it is, what kind of testing do they do? In terms of saying that I'm going to be able to identify zero-day malware, especially when they call it zero-day malware, which I hate that term. Anytime somebody says that, I have a lot of questions. Why? Because how can you test for something you haven't seen? It doesn't work that way. But some people will market it that, hey, my report can show you that they did this, this, and this. It's BS. Okay? Take it for what it's worth. I will say I like Gartner a lot, because they kind of give you, here's the good and the bad. And part of their research is talking with customers. If you're on the other side of it and you're trying to get your product into a Gartner quadrant or whatever, one of the hardest things is they will not do it unless their customers who pay for the reports are asking about you. So part of the sales pitch sometimes has been, hey, by the way, if you get Gartner reports, could you please ask them about us? And we get on their radar. So I kind of like Gartner. NSS Labs, ICSA, read the reports. A lot of times the vendors will have them on their website saying, yeah, we're the top, whatever. But use it to ask questions of the salesperson saying, hey, what version of the operating system was tested with this? I want to know that it wasn't a special version of it. If they tested with that, and NSS Labs will do, if you look at the stuff, they'll always say, we were testing with this version of the operating system. Ask them, how did they test zero-day malware? As a matter of fact, what I love is I will ask them, what do you mean by zero-day malware? Malware, by definition, is polymorphic, which means it constantly changes. So there's no such thing as zero-day malware in my mind. Now, if somebody keeps on saying that, if they tell me once or twice, I'll let it go because I don't want to get into an argument with somebody and get into, who's the expert session. Not worth it. Bottom line, ask them how these came about. What tools did they use? When I was at SonicWall, we were getting private testing by NSS Labs because we want third-party independent testing, and we actually helped them out using different devices called Ixia, Breaking Point. We actually helped them learn how to use those devices back in the early days when they were literally running out of a garage in Austin, Texas. And so it was very interesting to see how their testing came out. So know what's tested, trust but verify. That's always a good way to put it. Saying, yeah, that sounds good. You're in the upper part of the quadrant. That's great. But let me verify what conditions were they testing? How were they doing it? Does it make sense to me? Is it germane to what I'm doing? And my favorite, anytime I had a salesperson come in and talk about zero-day malware, I went after them. Conversely, when I would go in and make a pitch, I would say, look, you can see that, here's my competitor. They talk about zero-day malware. Let me explain what that really is because it's a marketing term. I hate marketing terms. Try and do this up front with a salesperson. When you write that first email saying, hey, what our expectations are is when you come in, also please be careful about the terminology you use. If you're going to say zero-day malware, we know that this is a marketing term. It's not something that we really want to hear because we know better, okay? So in other words, don't insult their intelligence, right? Get it in writing. Can't stress that enough. If the salesperson says, this will work great on any day of the week, it'll catch everything, it doesn't matter where it's coming from, great. You write it in an email saying, hey, this is what I understood you said, please confirm. And then later, when you write contracts and stuff like that, you can even put it in the contract. So when I went to school, I went to Cal Poly Pomona, and one of the things we had to do in our senior year was read the contract from IBM. And in the beginning of it, it stated very clearly, everything that salesperson just said to you, any brochure that we gave you, none of that matters, does not apply to anything that we're selling you here. If it's in the contract, that's the only place that makes sense. So I would go and then take every time they gave me something like that and say, look, I'm adding this as an addendum to the contract saying that this is what you're saying it can do. Hated me for it, and if they wouldn't live with it, I didn't have to buy it. So get it in writing. Relationships. You want a trusted advisor. You don't want a salesperson. Think long term. What do you want out of these people? You want to build a relationship. You want to make sure that somebody that's going to be sticking around with you and help you through the process. So it's not something you can necessarily pick off day one, but like I said, if you tell them what your expectations are before the meeting occurs, they come in and they don't do any of it, red flag, not going to be a long-term relationship. That most salespeople would like to meet with you once a quarter. If you buy a decent number of things, once a quarter is great. And it's a free meal, and you usually get to choose where you get to eat. That's nice. They usually have beta programs. If you're willing to be a tester, love it. Salespeople love it. You can see what's coming out. You can tell them what's going on. More importantly, as they get to know you and you're doing great, you can also go in and wind up giving them advice about, hey, look, I want to see this feature, or I think this feature would be really good. You can get in there being an advisor for them. And that's really good if you want to have that kind of relationship. Of course, more time on your part. It depends on whether you feel it's worth it or not. All right, let's go over questions. What questions do you have? And I got to see. Hey, Rod, what's the best way to see the questions here?
It will be the chat. Guys, if you wanna type your questions, this has been a very interesting talk so far, and people have been very active, supporting your talk and in comments. Not sure if somebody has a question at this point.
So on the bottom, you will see like the icons will be like one guy with person with 3 lines. Those are the participants, and then there's the actual chat option. So if you click on that one, usually appears on the right. And
you got the chat up. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah, there's a lot of good comments about it. The reception was great. There's a question there by Robert.
Okay, so if I end up with a bad sales rep, what's the best way to request somebody else? Just call the company, tell them you'd like to talk to somebody in sales, tell them exactly what's happening. Like, I'm not really happy with my sales rep. Who can I talk to about changing it out?
Yep.
And I've seen that happen a few times. You know what? Again, they're not your friends. They're not your family. Just call, be business professional, saying, look, I'd rather have somebody else. Here's some of the issues I'm having. And maybe you don't even want to go into the details. And that's fine. Just say, I'd rather have somebody else. Make it easy. Just call up. Let's see here. To echo Eric's early suggestion, getting the PO signed has huge leverage. That end never identify as having independent purchasing authority. Yeah, if we're always going to ask you who can sign, who can do the PO, because at some point, as we get into it from a sales standpoint, if we're putting a lot of time and effort and we put $1 million piece of equipment into your organization, we kind of want to know who is the person that can authorize this and get it signed. So at some point, you have to say who that is. And you can always say, look, you have to go through me. This person's not going to meet with you. I'm the one that goes to them, and that's fine. You know. Let's see. And maybe Rod, you can go through some of this stuff too, and tell me what you like to.
Yeah, I wanted to speak my question out.
Please.
Okay. Hi, Eric. Yeah, I was sharing with Ellen earlier about my experience with AWS because my environment, we're building AWS, so we have a SA sales executive and then also a solutions architect. So, and you know, benefit of doubt, right? But then again, sometimes you have to have that other mind of being a little skeptical about, are they really honest with you? Are they taking you the right channel? So there's this thing called Control Tower in AWS, which is fairly new. A lot of people are learning about it. So some of my friends who are experts in AWS, they kind of told me that my environment, because of our business size, we don't need Control Tower. But when we did our initial, configuration, our AWS sales executive and solutions architect, they kind of made us go the Control Tower route. And we told them, like, we're not sure really whether we need this route or not, but they kind of just steered us towards that. And and they kind of like gave me a little wall between me and them. And my boss, I think, kind of feels that way too. But we're just giving them benefit of doubt. And I'm not sure if I should trust them, and really, I'm not really sure if they're there for us or not. If kind of like, it's a very tricky situation. I mean, if you're me, what would I do? I am taking some measures. For example, like, another state agency, sister agency, we're gonna have a conference call with them and learn from them their lessons learned, talk to their solutions architect. I'm sorry, their enterprise architect. But that's my situation, my dilemma we have at AWS. So I wanted your thoughts.
So I would go a few routes. Number one, I would ask them questions and saying, okay, so I'm seeing this, this, and this, but I'm honestly, I'm not very comfortable feeling that this is the right solution. And I'd like to know, answers to these questions. If you gut tells you something doesn't feel right, it's not right. The second way to do it is to go online to different forums that people who are experts in AWS start posting questions. Just make sure you use a different email address and use your Proton mail address, so they can't quite directly link you up. And then if there's a lot of money on the table,
Yes.
that's where it may be worth saying, look, we're going to bring in a third-party consultant and have somebody consult for an hour, 2 hours, whatever, to see if this is the best solution. Because normally if you can get an independent consultant that's like, look, all you're doing is giving me advice, you're not making any money on the sale whatsoever, right? The only reason that they're even going to possibly come back is because they gave good advice and will use you again later on. That's where you say, look, I'm just getting a second opinion, right? You don't go to the same doctor for a second opinion unless he has multiple personalities. And then, you know, I don't know if you really want to do that. But I would say consultant, forums, other people you know, but go with your gut. If it doesn't feel right, then you know you got to tell them. You know, I'd be very honest with them, saying, look, I'm not feeling very comfortable with the solution. It doesn't sound right. Can you help me understand X, Y, or Z? The more you can define the question as to what's really bothering you that they can address,
Yeah.
that's always going to be good. But the problem is when it's something that you don't know, it's like, yeah, you're telling me I have to use this, and I really don't get why.
Yeah, exactly.
That's where, you know, you're really in a bind, right? Because they're trying to make money, and it's like, yeah, upsell, upsell, upsell.
Yeah. And that's why my problem is,
Okay, so you can sit there and say, look, I really like you guys. I'm not understanding this. Can we sit down and draw this out? And I need to have these questions answered because I don't know this. And if they don't try and be honest with you and straightforward with you, or if they try and be shifty about it, then it's like, run away. Run away to the third party in there, somebody that knows this stuff, that you make sure, like, look, guy, I'm paying you for your opinion. First thing I need to know is you have no connections with these guys in terms of direct connections with these salespeople. You're not getting any kind of kickbacks, whatever. Find some other person, and more importantly, all you're using them for is a consultant, not potential sale. Because the moment that they think that they can sell something to you, they will. So it has to be an independent advisor, nothing else.
Awesome. Hey, thanks a lot, Ari. That much helps me out, and you know, yeah. Cool.
Sure. Anybody else want to just chime in and ask questions? Because I'll be more than happy to look at some of this. Will the slides be available? Let me think about that for a moment. I'll try and make them available. I just want to make sure that all my friends in sales don't come by and start nailing me for telling the truth, but whatever. Oh, you love Tenable University? Great. Awesome. I would like to do more for you guys as much as I can. So if there's anything you're looking for from Tenable, again, I'm a product manager, so I definitely like to hear your feedback. And when we go into the This is Essential stuff, I definitely have some stuff I want to talk to you about and get your feedback from. So I look forward to that. It's recorded. I have a lot of salespeople calling me all the time. I ask them immediately. I'm not sure what that last part is. If your phone number is out there, it's time to change your phone number if you can, or just, you know, screen calls. You know, for me, I know my phone number has been out there for a while, and if I don't recognize that phone number, I just don't answer it. So I don't know that it's a hard thing to do. But I think I worked with some major customers that were constantly being pounded, and they had internal numbers that they wouldn't even give me, that was just for their people so that they could get some stuff done. So don't know how much to do, but no is easy always to say. What do you need? It throws them off guard, and they will tell me what their product is, usually immediately, and then I can decide if I want, yeah, whatever you can do to get them to the point. The thing I hate is having the prepared speech and I'm listening to this thing and it's sounding like, well, wait, and if you buy this offer, you're going to have this. But if you go through a whole lecture, and I always cut them off. It's like, look, what do you got? What are you looking for? Thank you. No, I'm not interested. All right. If the product is free, you're the product. Yeah. Know that. The trick a lot of salespeople are now using is to send you a message or call you claiming they didn't respond. Yeah, somebody that does a shady thing like that, I definitely go out and I said, look, I'm making comments about you in Yelp and everywhere else because of what a schmuck you are for doing that. And you let them know. Yeah, shame them. I guess the term is doxing them, but I don't want to go down that rat hole. State of Cali are being challenged if sales power people are not being honest. Salespeople not being honest? Are you kidding me? Really? Sales is a good salesperson is not going to be dishonest. I feel you got a good product, you sell it. If the person needs it, great. If they don't, stop it. If you're going to sell cars and stuff like that, different story. I totally get that. That's always a 6-hour thing. So are people being honest? Look, my mother told me don't lie, but that doesn't mean you have to tell them everything. So gauge it. If your gut tells you this person is shady, I don't like them, they're probably shady. Should be the head of sales. I don't want to be the head of sales. Thank you very much, but no. Let me do this. Is there anything people want to just ask in the discussion here? Please just, unmute yourself and ask. Nope. All right. Got a lot of good comments here, but Rod, go ahead.
Yeah, would you like to go for the break and then start the NASA's presentation? Or would you want to?
Sounds good. Let's do that because I didn't realize I was going to go so much in time. This is great, but yeah, let's take a little break, and then if people want, I'll stay on the line if people want to talk while you're taking a small. Let's see. Right now it's what 3:25.
Mm-hmm.
3:30 we start.
Yeah, let's start at 3:30. I'm gonna stop the recording for now, and then I'll start it again once you start.
Great. Aren't